Jennifer from the Wooster branch of the Wayne County Public Library. In today's Tuesday Crafternoon, I have a new hand-stitched card pattern that will help you welcome spring with a little bunny and a daffodil. So this is going to be our Take and Make kit for March. I don't remember what date exactly. It's usually around the second or third week, so check the library's calendar of events. But as with other Take and Make kits, you will get the card pattern, the instructions, and the card stock and floss that you need to make the card. So what I'm going to do today is show you how to stitch the card. Now you see there are lots of little pieces to it, but there's nothing really too complex. The one that might look the most daunting is the body of the bunny, but it's a stitch you're familiar with already. It's just counting a lot more holes to get there. So what you will need is cardstock, 8.5 by 11, cut in half, each half folded in half. You'll need the pattern, which, like I said, will be in the kit. You will need a beading awl, probably a piece of cardboard to slip under the cardstock in order to punch the holes out. And one thing I've discovered in the past couple of months that really helps me with punching out the holes is I use a couple of pieces of washi tape, which is a paper-based tape that peels up really easily, just to hold the pattern in place over the cardstock so that if I get interrupted or somehow I get jostled, the pattern is not going to move and I'll still be able to put the holes in without screwing up the whole card. You'll also need scissors and needle. This one is going to call for a couple of different kinds of embroidery floss. So I have yellow for the flower, green for the leaves, brown for the bunny, and a couple of other colors. Tape, because as we've done before, we tape down the ends of the floss. We don't make a knot, just to keep the back of the card a little bit flatter. So I think I've got everything together. I've got my needles all ready with floss. So let's get started. As you can see, I've got my card already punched out, so I'm going to start small. I'm going to start with the center of the flower, and this is just going to be an orange or a peachy kind of color to highlight the center of the daffodil or the jonquil or whatever it is. And you'll see there are just a circle of holes here in the middle. So what I'm going to do is a reach stitch that only goes 2 holes so that we build up this nice little circle in the middle. So I've got my needle threaded, and you don't need a whole lot for this. Open it up, and I'm just going to choose the top hole here. And I'll tape down the end. And then I'm just going to go around this circle, reaching 2. So 1, 2, and I go down. Come up the next one. Whoops. Oh, I hate when that happens. Okay. And then we go back 2, and we're just going to go back and forth with this pattern. On the back, you're always moving 1 hole, and you should be moving 1 hole forward. It's on the front where you go back and forth 2 holes. Now, even though I've used up all of the holes here, I want to do one last stitch just to carry the pattern all the way around. And there we go. So I'm just going to tape off that end. And trim the floss. All right, now let's do the petals for this flower. And if you see on here, what we're doing with this is a half and half stitch. And by that I mean each of the petals is a shape that has an even number of holes going around. So what I usually like to try and do is start at a point and go halfway across, halfway around the shape. What I've done with the pattern is mark the starting points with a circle and where you will cross over to with a dash. It also helps if you just count all the way around the holes and divide it in half. But if you don't want to do math while you're doing this, I totally get that. That's why I've marked the pattern for you. So with this top one, we'll start here at the tip of one petal. And tape down that end. And then I'm coming down to, let's see what the pattern says. I'm coming down to this hole here. And then you just work your way clockwise around the shape to fill in. So the next one is over here, and then we're going to cross over that first stitch and move forward one hole from the initial hole. And then I'll move forward one hole, cross back over, and we'll do that all the way around. It sounds complicated, it's tricky to describe, but once you see it, it's easier to figure it out, I think. Nope, there's another one in there. Let's see. There it is. One thing that I do with the instructions for the kits is I'll not only have a copy of the pattern for you, but I'll have a copy of a finished card so that if it's not totally clear from the instructions or the card, you can look at a finished one just to see where all your stitches are, which holes you're using, that sort of thing. I know it can be tricky. I've had a hard time sometimes with patterns in the past figuring out just where exactly I'm supposed to be stitching. So it helps if you can compare the pattern and a finished card just to know what goes where. All right, that's the first petal. So let's move on to the second one. Let's see. Yep, that's the one we want. Down to here. All right, so that's the second petal. I will go ahead and work on the rest and come back in a moment to work on the leaves. Well, I finished off the yellow floss, but I still have a petal to do later on. At this point, though, we're going to go ahead and work on the greenery. So we'll start with this clump of big leaves down here at the bottom, and they are just straight stitches. So I'm going to start at one hole, go up, do the next. And we're going to treat this kind of like a running stitch out and back, even though it isn't really one, because I'm going to do the stitches, one of the stitches in each peak, and then work my way back and fill them in. I'll show you what I mean. All right, so that's half of them, and now I'm going to come down here and go back the opposite way and fill in. We'll just zigzag our way back. Okay, so that fills that in, and now with this line, we're going to do the actual running stitch out and back. Starting here at the bottom. And this one's just the up, down, up, down, up, down to create a dashed line and then come back and fill it in. And we're actually going to stop shy of the flower. See if we've got a little gap here. So now I'm just going to work my way back down. And the last one. Now I'm going to come up the very last hole again, because this time we're going to do this nice big curved leaf. And this is a reach stitch. This one is going to be, let's see, looks like 11 holes. The correct answer, whatever it is written in the instructions. I just don't have it written down here on my pattern. So since we've come up the bottom hole, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 holes and go down. And then I'll move forward one hole, so going up the leaf, come back 11 holes to the hole just after the first one. And again, we're going to go back and forth. Now the thing about doing a reach stitch on a gently curving line like this is it gives it a little more thickness, and it really accentuates that curve. It isn't quite as choppy as going from stitch to stitch would be. So it's a nice technique to have to give a little different texture to the pattern. All right, I'm going to stop here, finish this up off screen, and then we will get ready to do the bunny. Okay, so I am almost done here with the leaf. I'll get to that later. Let's move on to the bunny. Now the belly is just a little slice of white or cream here, and it's going to follow this little curve and join up here under the chin and right at the leg, but we're going to move over one hole from where it joins up at the top and start there with a reach 4. So if this is our first hole, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 and go through, and then move forward and come back. All right, so we're caught up there at the top. Whoops. Well, let's see if I can do that a little better. And again, as with other reach stitches, we're just going back and forth. On the top, you're following the reach number. In this case, it's 4 holes, but on the back, you're always moving forward 1 hole. That helps you progress the line of stitching and creates that really nice curve. And is that, yes, that is the last hole. So we'll just go ahead and tape that off. Trim the thread. And let's move on to brown for the bunny. Now we've got multiple parts here. Each of the ears is a half and half stitch. You can see the way it crosses over in the middle. Each of the feet are also half and half stitches. And the rest of the body is one big reach. It just curves all the way around from in here, around and around until we get here, which is a really nice effect. It's just you're going to be counting a lot of holes, but we can do this. Let's go ahead and start with, I think, one of the ears. And as before with the flower, I did go ahead and mark the pattern to show you where your starting holes are for the ears and the feet and where that first stitch crosses over to. So let's go ahead and start with the first one up here at the tip. And we'll tape down the end. All right, so this one goes down to, it looks like this hole. If you're never sure, if you're not quite sure, what you can do is you come up the first hole, just put your needle in where you think that bottom hole is, and then you can count and make sure there's an even number of holes on each side. And if I count this little hole down here, we're good. So that is the correct hole. Oops. Oh, I hate when that happens. Sometimes your thread just slips out from the tape and you gotta do it all over again. That's okay, we can do it. All right, once more. All right, so you get the idea with this. We're doing the half and half, going around one of these, and then we'll do the next. So let me stop there. I'll work some more on this, and I'll be back. All right, so that's how far I got before I ran out of floss. And I'm not going to show you all of that, all of the other ear, all of the 2 feet on camera because that's going to take a while. And you probably will get bored before I get done with all of that. I've had people ask me before how long it takes me to stitch one of these cards. And the answer is it depends on how complex the card is, if I'm doing multiple cards of the same pattern all at once. But one like this, my guess is it's probably going to take you between 1 and 2 hours. So I'm guessing you don't want to watch me stitch for 1 to 2 hours. We'll just hit the highlights here. So the last section we're going to stitch is the bunny's body, which is this big curve. And we start here at the very last hole underneath the jawline. And this reach is a big one. This is 19 holes. So we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yes, it gets us to just before where the ear starts. And as always with the reach, then we're going to move forward 1 hole. And reach back the 19 holes to the hole right after the first one. Now this is going to start off looking like the half and half stitch because we're crossing over quite a bit here. But you will see that it's going to then be a thicker kind of reach than the leaf over here because you're going further in your reach. And then it's going to come back to something that looks like a half and half. That's how this is supposed to work. It's okay. I know sometimes new patterns will use familiar stitches, but they'll have slightly different effects than you're used to, and you might think, oh my gosh, did I do that wrong? Chances are probably not. It's just the many different ways that you can use some of these basic stitches to create really beautiful designs on your cards. I mean, if you were to do a search on Pinterest for patterns for stitched cards, you'll see there are some that are fairly basic, some like we've done before, and then there are some that are so elaborate you think that surely isn't just embroidery. What is going on here? They're just so impressive. over the course of this year, there are going to be some other stitched card kits that might kind of stretch your comfort zone a little bit, but I think you're going to be able to do whatever I throw at you here with card patterns, and I really think you're going to enjoy the results. All right, so you get the idea of this reach that's going to go back and forth so much. Let's go a little bit further so we can see how it maybe straightens out a bit on this longer curve. I apologize that sometimes this video is going to be blurry. This little camera doesn't really adjust to my flipping the card back and forth very well. But I'm not good enough to find the hole from behind to just keep it steady, so please bear with me. All right, now you can see we're starting to get some real long lines here. Okay, and so you can see we're still getting some of that crossover effect that we get from the half and half stitch, but as these lines lengthen out and the distance between holes gets closer and closer to the line of holes, like up here, you're going to get this really nice thick curve coming around. This is really actually a very pretty pattern, very elegant when you think about the detailing of the stitches. And hopefully you'll enjoy making this one just to share a little bit of springtime whimsy with other people in your life. So that's where I'm going to stop with the stitching. Like I said, if you just watch me stitch for an hour, you're going to get bored out of your mind, and I don't want that. But this should give you enough information to figure out how to do these once you come in and pick up a kit. Now, as I said, the kits for the bunny cards are going to be available sometime in March. Check the calendar of events to see which Monday that begins. They will be first come, first serve, one kit per family. But come on in, grab your kit, and then go home and get stitching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you'll get a chance to pick up a kit and try it at home. And in the meantime, as always, stay healthy, be kind, and get creative. Bye-bye.